My parents criticized me in front of everyone at my golden sister's promotion party. But I cut ties. I, 42F, have always lived in the shadow of my sister Maya, 47F. Growing up in an affluent Boston suburb, we were raised by parents, both late 70s, who placed an overwhelming emphasis on achievement and social status. While we both excelled academically, Maya was always portrayed as the crown jewel of our family, and I was merely an afterthought. From my earliest memories, this dynamic was crystal clear. On Maya's birthdays, our parents would organize elaborate parties, inviting the children of their social circle's most prominent families. My birthdays, in contrast, were often forgotten or marked with a hasty card and a reminder that we already spent too much on Maya's party this year. This pattern continued throughout our education. When Maya got into an elite private high school, our parents threw a celebration that lasted an entire weekend. When I received a merit scholarship to an equally prestigious school 2 years later, they merely commented that at least we won't have to pay for this one. Every achievement of mine was measured against Maya's and found wanting. During our college years, the disparity became even more pronounced. Our parents paid for Maya's full tuition at Yale Law School, including a comfortable apartment and living expenses. When it came to my education, they informed me that they had already allocated their resources to Maya's law school fund, suggesting I take out loans or find a less expensive career path. Despite this, I worked multiple jobs, secured scholarships, and graduated with honors in computer science. As we entered our professional lives, Mia followed the path our parents had meticulously planned for her, joining a prestigious law firm and climbing the corporate ladder exactly as expected. I carved my own path in the tech industry, building a career through determination and raw talent rather than family connections. The dynamics at family gatherings were always tense. Our parents would parade Maya around, introducing her as a more successful daughter while treating me as if I was invisible. When relatives asked about my career, our mother would quickly change the subject or make dismissive comments like, "Oh, she does something with computers." The constant emotional abuse was subtle but relentless. Despite everything, I managed to build a respectable career. By my early 40s, I had secured a position as a middle manager at a growing tech company, leading a team of developers and earning a comfortable six-figure salary. But in our parents' eyes, this paled in comparison to Maya's achievements as a lawyer. 3 years ago, everything came to a head at Maya's promotion party. She had just made senior partner at her firm, the youngest in the firm's history, as our parents repeatedly reminded everyone. They had rented out the grand ballroom of the Fairmont Copley Plaza, inviting over 200 guests from Boston's elite social circles. I remember every excruciating detail of that evening. The elaborate flower arrangements, the champagne towers, the string quartet playing in the corner. Our parents had spared no expense to celebrate their golden child's success. I sat at my assigned table, somewhat removed from the main family table, trying to maintain a dignified presence despite feeling like an outsider at what was supposed to be a family celebration. When our father stood up to give his speech, I expected the usual praise for Maya, but what followed was beyond anything I could have imagined. Standing before the entire gathering of Boston's legal and social elite, he began by calling Maya their greatest blessing. That part wasn't surprising. I'd long accepted that she was their golden child. But then he started joking about how they should have stopped having children after Maya because the second ones are usually useless anyway. The room erupted in laughter as he continued, saying they could have invested all their time and resources in Maya instead of wasting them on me. My mother stood beside him, nodding and smiling, adding that at least they had one child they could be proud of. The worst part wasn't even their words, it was watching the faces of everyone around me, seeing them laugh as if my public humiliation was nothing more than light entertainment. I looked desperately at Maya, hoping she might say something, show some sign of sisterly support, but she just gave me an apologetic glance before joining in the awkward laughter. Later, when I confronted her in the hotel's powder room, she simply said, "They're just joking. Maybe if you worked harder like I did, they'd be proud of you too." Those words, delivered with such casual cruelty, were the final straw. That night marked the end of my relationship with my family. I'd endured years of being the lesser daughter, but this public declaration of my worthlessness was the final straw. As soon as I got home, I blocked their numbers, deleted their email addresses, and removed them from all my social media accounts. Within a week, I had secured a position at a different tech company across town and threw myself into building a new life. Over the next 3 years, I focused entirely on my career and personal growth. I earned multiple promotions, built a strong team, and even started mentoring younger female professionals in the tech industry. My new colleagues appreciated my skills and leadership style, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly valued for my abilities. I heard through distant relatives that my parents were concerned about my absence from family gatherings, but their concern never translated into an actual apology. Maya apparently defended their behavior, telling everyone I was being oversensitive and dramatic. She even suggested that my emotional instability was proof that our parents had been right about me all along. Life went on, and I found peace in my independence. I bought a beautiful brownstone in Back Bay, traveled extensively, and built genuine friendships with people who appreciated me for who I am. The weight of constantly trying to prove myself worthy of parental love lifted, and I discovered a sense of self-worth that had nothing to do with comparisons to my sister. Yesterday, after 3 years of silence, I received multiple urgent messages from my parents. The first few came through email, then voicemails on my work phone, and finally text messages from numbers I didn't recognize. They hadn't tried to contact me in months, so I knew something serious must have happened. Despite my better judgment, I unblocked their number and called them back, my heart racing as I prepared myself for whatever news they had. Should I share what they told me? The irony of their situation is almost poetic, and I'm considering a course of action that would finally make them understand the consequences of their behavior. But I want to make sure I'm not letting old wounds cloud my judgment. I've spent the last few hours sitting in my home office, staring at the Boston skyline through my window, contemplating how life can take such unexpected turns. The past 3 years have been transformative for me. I've gone from being the perpetual disappointment to someone my team looks up to. We recently secured a major contract that put our company on the map, and I was instrumental in making it happen. Looking back, I realize how much their constant criticism affected every aspect of my life. In my 20s-30s, I jumped from relationship to relationship, always choosing partners who treated me the same way my parents did, as if I was never quite good enough. It took years of therapy to understand that pattern and break free from it. Even my career choices were influenced by their dismissal of my achievements. Every time I succeeded, I would downplay my accomplishments, almost apologizing for them. When I received my first major promotion, I didn't even tell them because I knew they would somehow turn it into a comparison with Maya's career. The irony is that while they were so focused on maintaining their perfect image and Maya's perfect reputation, they never saw the strength it took to build a career without their support. Every milestone I reached was through my own determination and hard work. While Maya had their connections and financial support, I had to navigate the corporate world entirely on my own. Now, as I prepare to share what my parents told me, I can't help but reflect on how their obsession with perfection and social status has finally come back to haunt them. The universe, it seems, has a sense of humor after all. I'm also wrestling with the realization that despite everything they've done, despite all the years of emotional abuse and public humiliation, a small part of me still cares what happens to my family. Maybe that makes me weak, or maybe it makes me human. Either way, I know the decision I make next will change all our lives forever. Should I tell you what they said? What I'm planning to do? I know some might say I should take the high road, be the bigger person. But after decades of being torn down, after that humiliating speech 3 years ago, maybe it's time for them to understand how it feels to lose everything they value. Their reputation, their social standing, their perfect family image. The sun is setting over the Charles River now, casting long shadows across my office. My phone keeps buzzing with more messages from my parents, growing increasingly desperate. They've never had to wait for anything in their lives, and my silence is probably driving them crazy. Good. I think I'm ready to share what they told me, and what I plan to do about it. But first, I want to be clear, this isn't about revenge. This is about justice, about finally holding them accountable for years of emotional abuse. This is about showing them that their useless second daughter has more power than they ever imagined. Let me know if you want to hear the rest of this story. I promise you, it's going to be worth the wait. Update 1. After that first call with my parents, I spent the next few hours piecing together the shocking reality of Maya's situation. What they revealed wasn't just surprising, it was a complete shattering of the perfect image they'd spent decades crafting. According to my parents, Maya has been struggling with severe cocaine addiction. She lost her position at the law firm 3 months ago, but managed to hide it from our parents by pretending she was still working. They only discovered the truth when one of their country club friends spotted Maya in a concerning state outside a known drug house in a rundown part of Boston. The most ironic part of this whole situation? Maya apparently started using cocaine to maintain her perfect performance at work. The pressure of being the youngest senior partner, combined with our parents' endless expectations, led her to seek chemical assistance to keep up with the demanding hours and high-pressure environment. When my mother tearfully explained how Maya had drained her entire savings and retirement fund to support her habit, I could hear the shame dripping from her voice. But what struck me most was how even now, their primary concern wasn't Maya's health or recovery, it was their reputation. "We can't let anyone at the club know about this," my mother whispered, as if someone might overhear our phone conversation. "What would people think? We've already had to make excuses for why she hasn't been at recent social events." Then came the part that made my blood boil. My father, in his typical fashion, Tried to find someone else to blame for their golden child's fall from grace. You didn't introduce her to drugs back then, did you? He asked, his voice heavy with accusation. You were always the rebellious one. I was stunned into silence. Here I was, having had no contact with them or Maya for 3 years, and somehow they were trying to pin this on me. The fact that I've never even used drugs seemed irrelevant to them. In their minds, any problem with their perfect daughter must somehow be the fault of their useless one. My mother quickly chimed in with their real reason for calling. We need you to come home and help us take care of her, she pleaded. We can't send her to rehab, people would find out. Maybe you could take a few weeks off work. After all, it's not like your job is as important as what Maya used to do. That last comment, so casually cruel, confirmed that nothing had changed. Even in this crisis, they couldn't help but diminish me. But then they revealed something that made their request even more absurd. They had already rejected 2 intervention attempts by Maya's former colleagues, including an offer to quietly arrange private rehabilitation at a discreet facility in Switzerland. We can't risk anyone finding out, my father explained. If word gets out that Maya went to rehab, it would destroy our family's reputation. We'd rather handle this internally. Their plan, if you can call it that, was to keep Maya locked up in her old room at their house, with me acting as her full-time caretaker. They seemed to think that their useless daughter could somehow cure their perfect one's drug addiction through sheer willpower and familial duty. When I suggested that addiction requires professional medical intervention, my mother actually scoffed. Don't be dramatic, she said. Maya has always been stronger than you. She just needs some family support and she'll bounce back. She's not like other addicts, she's special. The conversation continued in this vein for almost 2 hours. They alternated between blaming me, minimizing the severity of Maya's addiction, and obsessing over how to keep it hidden from their social circle. Not once did they express genuine concern for Maya's well-being or acknowledge the role their pressure might have played in her downfall. Before ending the call, my father made one final comment that cemented my decision about what to do next. Remember, he said, if you refuse to help us with this, you're confirming everything we've ever said about you being useless to this family. I hung up without responding, my mind already formulating a plan. They want to keep this quiet? They're worried about their reputation? Well, perhaps it's time for Boston's elite to see the real face of the family they've admired for so long. As I sit here planning my next move, I can't help but appreciate the irony. They spent years tearing me down to build Maya up, and now they need the daughter they discarded to save the one they worship. But I have something else in mind, something that will finally make them understand the true cost of their actions. Should I share my plan? It's not exactly what most would consider taking the high road, but after everything they've done, maybe the high road isn't the right path this time. Stay tuned for what happens next. I promise you, karma is about to make a spectacular appearance in their perfectly curated lives. Update 2. After much internal debate, I decided to reach out to Maya directly. I wanted to hear her side of the story without our parents filtering. The conversation that followed was both eye-opening and heartbreaking. Maya's voice on the phone was barely recognizable, weak, hesitant, completely unlike the confident sister I remembered. At first, she spoke in fragmented sentences, as if assembling her thoughts required immense effort. Then, gradually, the full story emerged. Her descent into addiction didn't happen overnight. It started shortly after that promotion party where our parents humiliated me. The pressure of being the youngest senior partner, combined with the weight of our parents' expectations, became overwhelming. She was working 90-hour weeks, desperately trying to prove she deserved the position. I couldn't sleep, she confessed. Every case felt like it could be the one where I'd fail, where I'd prove I wasn't really good enough. One of the other partners noticed how exhausted I was and offered me something to help maintain my edge. That something was cocaine. What started as an occasional boost to get through difficult cases evolved into a daily necessity. Maya described how she'd structure her entire day around maintaining the perfect facade while managing her growing dependency. She'd schedule court appearances for the mornings when she was most coherent, take lunch meetings that were actually opportunities to use, and gradually isolated herself from anyone who might notice her deterioration. But the most shocking revelation came when she broke down crying, confessing that watching our parents humiliate me at her party was a turning point for her too. I saw myself becoming them, she sobbed. I was so focused on maintaining this image of perfection that I stood there and let them destroy you. I've carried that guilt ever since. She revealed how our parents' constant praise had become a prison. Every accomplishment raised the bar higher, every success created more pressure to be perfect. They didn't just ruin your life, she whispered. They ruined mine too, just in a different way. The conversation shifted to her current situation. She's lost everything: her job, her savings, her reputation in the legal community. But what terrifies her most is our parents' refusal to let her seek professional help. They keep saying they can handle it privately, she explained, "but I know I need real treatment. I'm scared I'll die if I don't get help soon." Maya then did something I never expected. She apologized. Not just a superficial "I'm sorry," but a deep, genuine acknowledgement of her role in my pain. She expressed remorse for every time she sided with our parents, for every moment she basked in their praise while watching them tear me down. "You were always the stronger one," she admitted. "You built your life despite them, while I built mine to please them. Look where that got me." The irony of this statement wasn't lost on either of us. As we continued talking, Maya revealed more about our parents' current behavior. They've been micromanaging her decline, more concerned with keeping appearances than getting her help. They've created elaborate lies to explain her absence from social events, even going so far as to stage fake video calls where Maya pretends to be working late, at the office she no longer has access to. The most disturbing part was learning how they've been handling her withdrawal attempts. Instead of seeking medical assistance, they've been treating it like a minor inconvenience. When she experiences severe symptoms, they give her sleeping pills and lock her in her old bedroom, telling the housekeeping staff she has a bad flu. "I overheard them discussing what to tell the country club members," Maya said with a bitter laugh. "They were more worried about maintaining their standing in the club than whether I might need emergency medical care." By the end of our conversation, I had a clear picture of not just Maya's addiction, but the toxic family dynamic that contributed to it. Our parents hadn't created one successful daughter and one failure. They damaged both of us, just in different ways. "I want to get proper help," Maya admitted finally, "but I'm terrified of standing up to them. They've controlled every aspect of my life for so long, I don't know how to defy them." That's when I knew exactly what I needed to do. My initial plan for revenge needed modification. Yes, our parents deserve to face consequences for their actions, but I also need to ensure Maya gets the help she desperately needs. I have a new strategy forming, one that will both expose our parents' toxic behavior and secure Maya's path to recovery. It's time to show them that their useless daughter knows exactly how to handle a crisis, even if it means burning down their precious social status in the process. The next update will detail my plan and its execution. Let's just say our parents are about to learn that maintaining appearances shouldn't be their biggest concern right now. Update 3. The execution of my plan was methodical and precise, targeting the thing our parents value most, their social standing in Boston's elite circles. Phase 1 began with the church community. I anonymously sent documentation to their Episcopal Church's Senior Leadership Council. A detailed letter outlining how our parents were actively preventing their daughter from seeking life-saving medical treatment, along with evidence of Maya's current condition. I included their rejection of the Swiss rehabilitation facility offer, emphasizing how they prioritized appearances over their daughter's life. The timing was perfect, right before the annual church fundraising committee meeting, which my mother had chaired for the past 15 years. The council's response was swift. They not only removed her from the committee but also initiated a formal discussion about the Christian duty to support family members in crisis. The Sunday sermon about a pride coming before a fall was particularly pointed, with many congregation members openly staring at my parents' usual pew, which was conspicuously empty. Phase 2 targeted their professional network. I systematically reached out to key partners at Maya's former law firm, expressing deep concern about our parents' handling of the situation. The firm, already worried about potential liability, quickly distanced themselves. They issued a formal statement clarifying that Maya had resigned for personal reasons months ago, effectively destroying our parents' carefully crafted fiction about her still working there. The country club phase was particularly satisfying. I didn't have to do much, just ensured that the right people overheard the right conversations. The gossip spread like wildfire through the club's elite membership. The same social circles that had laughed at my humiliation 3 years ago were now whispering about the irony of the situation. But the masterstroke came through Mother's precious Junior League connections. I arranged for their annual charity gala, usually hosted at our parents' house, to be relocated due to concerns about the home environment. The message was clear. Their standing in Boston's social hierarchy was crumbling. As their carefully constructed social world imploded, I implemented the second part of my plan. Working with Maya's former colleagues, I secured her a place at an exclusive rehabilitation facility in Arizona. Far from Boston's prying eyes, it offered her the chance to recover without our parents' toxic influence. The facility's administrative director, after hearing about our parents' interference with previous rehabilitation attempts, agreed to list Maya under an alias. This ensured our parents couldn't manipulate or sabotage her treatment process. When Maya arrived at the facility, she sent me a brief message. "Thank you for being strong enough to do what I couldn't." It was the first step in her journey to recovery, both from addiction and from our parents' suffocating expectations. Our parents' reaction to their social downfall was exactly as I predicted. They called me repeatedly, alternating between rage and desperate pleading. Father's final voicemail was particularly revealing. How dare you destroy everything we built? We gave you life and this is how you repay us? I replied with a single text message. Consider this my repayment for your years of parenting. Your reputation is experiencing the same thing you did to my self-worth: systematic destruction. How does it feel to be seen as useless in your social circle? The fallout continues to spread through Boston's elite social circles. Our parents, once celebrated figures at every significant social event, now find themselves quietly uninvited from major functions. Their calls go unreturned. Their usual dinner reservations at exclusive restaurants are mysteriously lost. The whispers and sideways glances they desperately tried to avoid have become their new reality. Last week, I received an unexpected email from Maya's therapist at the rehabilitation center. With Maya's permission, she shared that my sister is making remarkable progress. Free from our parents' toxic expectations and finally receiving professional help, she's beginning to understand how their obsession with perfection contributed to her addiction. The therapist also mentioned something that brought tears to my eyes. Apparently, Maya keeps a photo from our childhood on her bedside table, one taken before our parents' expectations poisoned our relationship. She looks at it every morning as motivation for her recovery, hoping to rebuild the sisterly bond we once had. As for our parents, they've reportedly fled to their summer house in the Berkshires, unable to face their humiliation in Boston. Their last attempt at damage control, a lengthy email to their social circle claiming they were misunderstood, only made things worse. Someone, not me, for once, leaked it to their entire country club membership, leading to their official suspension from the club. Yesterday, I received a letter from one of my mother's oldest friends, a woman who had witnessed my humiliation at Maya's promotion party. She expressed deep regret for not speaking up that night and acknowledged how the community had enabled our parents' toxic behavior for years. Her letter ended with a quote that perfectly summed up the situation. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is let someone face the consequences of their actions. Some might say my revenge was too harsh, that I should have been actions. Some might say my revenge was too harsh, that I should have found a gentler way to handle the situation. But I disagree. Our parents spent decades building their reputation on the foundation of cruelty and emotional abuse.